This is Driving Solutions, exclusively on CPTnews.com.
Hey everyone, Jim Fitzpatrick. Thanks so much for joining us on another edition of Driving Solutions here at CBT News. According to estimates from Kelley Blue Book, a record high of 1.2 million American car buyers opted for electric vehicles last year, accounting for 7.6% of the overall vehicle market in the U.S. With the addition of BEV and hybrid powertrains, the combined EV market share was approximately 16% last year, and Cox anticipates that the share will increase to 24% in 2024. Yet EV adoption is not happening as fast as earlier forecasts predicted. But why? On today's show, we are so excited to have with us Mr. Mike Battaglia, who's the COO of Blink Charging, to discuss how EV charging providers are working to meet the needs of EV drivers today. Mike, thanks so much for joining us once again here at CBT News.
Yeah, thank you, Jim. It's great to see you again and good to be here.
Sure. I'm sure that you're preparing for NADA, which is a huge show for us here in retail automotive, right?
We sure are. We have a ton of dealer clients across the country, resulting from a phenomenal 2023 in that channel. So yes, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. And I will tell you that based on all the information that we've got here, EVs will be front and center. Everybody's going to be talking about EVs out at NADA. Who needs them? What to do with the ones that you've got? How fast can you sell them? Do customers want them? Do OEMs want to build them? If so, how many? So what is needed to address the EV infrastructure need in the U.S. currently?
So one of the things we know from research, and it doesn't matter where it comes from J.D. Power, it comes from Auto Pacific, it comes from a number of different research firms, is that the number one reason why people avoid or don't buy an electric vehicle is because of lack of infrastructure. And that has been that way for quite a while. Mm-hmm. Now, keep in mind that every single day that goes by, Blink and other companies in the industry are chipping away at that. We are literally installing chargers every single day, Monday through Friday, and probably on the weekends as well. So to answer your question, what needs to happen is we need more infrastructure. And companies like Blink are moving as aggressively as we possibly can, using all the levers at our disposal to make sure that those chargers get in the ground with the right charger at the right place at the right time. And I can talk more about what that means, but that's critical.
Yeah, let's drill down on that in a little bit. What does that mean?
So fundamentally, it means, where are EVs being sold? Number one, so follow the registrations. Where do we see EV growth? The second thing is, when we say right charger, that is, do we need a level 2 charger? Do we need a DC fast charger? And one of the things that's interesting about the industry, and it's been this way for a while, is that 90% of the share of voice in the media and things you read and hear are all about DC fast charging. And yet all of the research indicates, and the data proves out, that 90% of all the kilowatt hours or electricity that's going to be dispensed into an electric vehicle is actually going to be dispensed through a level 2 charging station. So DC fast chargers absolutely have a role. They're needed on highway corridors to facilitate people taking long trips.
Sure.
But when we say right charger, right place, right time, what people want is to be able to charge everywhere they live, work, play. And what that means is level 2 is perfect for that, because we can put them at parks, we can put them at hotels, we can put them at schools, shopping centers, right? So it's this notion of, I have a charger available to me where I'm living my daily life. And level 2 infrastructure is much less expensive, much easier to deploy, and much faster to deploy.
Sure. So what are the right questions that we need to be asking when thinking about placing chargers?
Really it's about how many should we put in today, and how should we future-proof for tomorrow? And that's key. So maybe a site demands 3 or 4 EV plugs today, but what we want to make sure is that when we are putting in that infrastructure, we're anticipating over the next few years, so that we actually build out the conduit, the electricity to the panel, all of those things, to be able to add stations in the future, so we're not tearing up parking lots more than once.
Sure. What kind of time frame are we looking at to meet the needs of the EV drivers currently?
Yeah, so we can there's a lot of noise in the industry right now about what is EV adoption going to look like in the next 5-10 years. So the number that we have been going with is that by 2030, about a third of the industry is going to be BEV. Now, we can debate whether it's going to be 35, whether it's going to be 30. I mean, these are, it's certainly fluid at the moment.
Sure.
But what that means is that the US needs approximately 30 million charging stations between now and then.
30
and
million.
There's not even million.
30
Now that encompasses
million. Wow.
Yeah, it's a huge number. Right now, keep in mind that encompasses things like single family homes,
Sure.
multifamily, right,
Sure.
apartment buildings, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So there's not even enough production capacity for EV charging stations right now to meet that. So what we need to do is just keep pace, right? So where we are today is manageable for us to be installing both level 2 and EV fast charging, DCFC. And we basically just need to make sure that we're keeping pace with the forecast, that we are right sizing, that we are doing all the things that we need to do in the industry to try to meet those needs. But it's big. And again, whether it's 35% or 30% or 28%, it's a large number of chargers.
Yeah. Is range anxiety still a worry?
For sure. I'd be kidding your audience if, coming from an EV charging provider, if I said no.
Yeah.
It is. And one of the things that's critical is that there's the visibility of the charging out in the community. And again, that's why we kind of double down on level 2, because the amount of investment it takes to deploy level 2, to make that infrastructure visible, and again, to put it where people live their daily lives. And keep in mind, more than 90% of the time, a car sits idle. And that is a key statistic. So it's an amazing statistic, but it's key. So, 5 to 10% of the time are when people are actually driving these things during the day.
Sure.
So we need to make sure that we have infrastructure where people are spending time. Now, the obvious one is at home, at an apartment building, so they can charge overnight. But again, at a movie theater, and I'm there for, 2 or 3 hours, that's a perfect application for level 2 charging. When I'm at the doctor's office, there aren't too many doctor's visits that take, 15, 20 minutes, right? You're there, you're there for a while, and you're always late,
That's right.
So, we can put charging stations there. So that's how we think about deploying the infrastructure. But yes, it's still an issue, and it's incumbent upon us to solve that.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of talk about, fast chargers to build out our charging infrastructure. Is this the right direction?
It is in the right applications. So again, when we talk about what do Americans want to be able to do, they want to be able to not only run about, I'll call it, in their daily lives to and from the grocery store, to and from work, but what they want to be able to do if they buy an electric vehicle is to go from LA to San Francisco, or to go from, Cincinnati to Washington, D.C.,
right,
and to have the confidence level that they're going to be able to charge their car quickly along the way. And that is where DC fast charging along highway corridors is critical. And it's why the NEVI program was designed and deployed. So we have a lot of work to do on that front as well, but it's needed, and, we'll make progress against that as well.
Sure. One dealer that I spoke to said that, the charging situation, the EV situation right now is much like when computers first came out in the, early to mid 90s, where you had dial up. It was kind of clumsy. You had this big, huge computer sitting on your desk, and people are asking themselves, do you really need this in the home? What are the advantages? What are the disadvantages? It takes too long to get online. And he said, and look at that technology over time, where now this is your computer, And he said, the same thing's going to happen here with EVs, where we're going to get the charging stations out. We're going to get things taken care of, and it's going to be really the way of the world, right?
It is. And and I actually completely agree with that perspective. And the technology is going to continue to advance.
Right.
And one example of that is DC fast charging. And it wasn't too many years ago that people balked at a 50 kilowatt DC fast charger. They thought that was nuts, right? From a cost perspective, you're not going to be able to, now, I'm actually at CES right now, and we're looking at 400 kilowatt units.
Oh my gosh.
That are actually competitively priced.
Yeah.
So, and then, by the way, there aren't even cars that can take that, right? So the technology is advancing even faster than the technology in the vehicle in terms of the speed with which you're going to be able to charge. So all of those things are absolutely going to improve. The speed's going to get better. The cost is going to come down. I always say it's kind of like the American way, right?
That's right. I remember getting
innovation.
My first digital camera, and I was so excited. This is going back 20 years, because it had one pixel, You know, it was just
Yep.
like, wow, this is incredible. Look at this digital camera. And of course, it was crap compared to what we have today just on our hip. And this thing was the size
Amazing.
of a small shoebox. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So it's
Yeah,
all about
yeah.
technology.
It is. And that technology, by the way, extends, not just to the stations themselves, but it extends to the software networks that are powering these stations and enabling some really innovative things like plug and charge. So, me plugging in my car and the charger authenticating, I don't even need a credit card,
That's
right?
right.
So there's things coming, and energy management and being able to power my home through a charging station connected to my EV. So, it's coming. It's not always smooth in getting there. But we'll get there.
Yeah, for sure. Mike, talk to us about NADA. You're going to be out there. Your booth is 6361N, which is in the North Hall at the upcoming show, which we're showing all the information on the screen right now. This is, by the way, dealers, something that you definitely want to get over to. Talk to Mike and his team, learn more about this. This is the future. There's no question about it. So use this time wisely. Make sure that these guys are on your short list. But tell us about what's going to be happening at the booth.
Yeah, so we are going to continue to feature the products and services that we have featured in the last year or two. We have some new products that we rolled out through the course of 2023 that we'll have on display at NADA.
Okay.
But I encourage, whether you are a client, a current customer of Blink, or you're still thinking about what do I do with this, come by the booth. We can walk you through it. Sometimes it's not nearly as daunting as you think it's going to be. And sometimes you don't need as much as you think you do.
Sure.
So come on over, talk to us. We have a ton of dealer customers out there from coast to coast. And again, it's been phenomenal working with them and collectively trying to figure this thing out. So, we look forward to everybody coming over to the booth and just bend our ear and use us as a resource.
That's right. Now's the time. I mean, dealers, this is a great opportunity for you to get out there and meet Mike and his staff and learn more about the products. But as I said, this is where we're headed in this industry. So let's prepare for it. Mike Battaglia, COO of Blink Charging. Thank you so much for your insights today. I know that our viewers will get a lot out of your visit with us. And of course, don't forget to stop by the booth, folks. It's 6361N. Put it down on your short list. So thanks again, Mike. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Jim. Always great to be with you.
Thanks.
Thanks for watching Driving Solutions, exclusively on CPTnews.com.